Among the most prevalent types of psychological disorders is the intense, irrational fear that is triggered by a specific object or situation. These fears are commonly known as phobias. Psychologists distinguish between specific phobias, fear of heights, the dark, certain animals or insects, for example, and social phobias, which include the fear of being in social situations where one might be embarrassed or humiliated. But while nearly everyone suffers the occasional fear, a phobia is characteristically different.
In order for a diagnosis of a specific phobia to be given, the individual needs to experience the fear almost every time they're around the phobic object. For example, somebody with the fear of dogs needs to become almost immediately very anxious and very fearful as soon as they see a dog. And the phobia needs to lead to some kind of impairment or distress. So it's not enough just to be afraid of dogs. You know, everybody's afraid of something or another, but to make it a phobia, it needs to be something that really is very automatic, very intense, and really gets in the way.
We learned a lot about how phobias develop in recent years. We used to think that people develop phobias because they had a terrible experience. Let's say maybe they got trapped in an elevator and developed claustrophobia, or maybe they were bitten by a dog and developed phobia of dogs. Now we know that there are several influences that converge in people to develop phobias. First of all, we do inherit a tendency to be afraid of certain things more so than other things. We call these fears prepared fears. And it seems we carry in our genes this information.
Common to all anxiety disorders is excessive anxiety. Anxiety that is irrational, uncontrollable, and disruptive to one's life.
Well, anxiety is a very fascinating human emotion. It's a future-orientated emotion where you are anticipating potential threat or danger and attempting to mobilize yourself to deal effectively with it.
Of all the forms of anxiety disorders, by far the most common is what psychologists call generalized anxiety disorder.
Generalized anxiety, it can best be defined as a high level of anxiety and worry that's pretty constant during the day. Unlike a phobia where you wouldn't feel the anxiety unless you were in contact with that particular situation, the person who is generally anxious would feel that way almost the entire day. It's also characterized by what we consider a great deal of worry. Worry about sometimes normal life circumstances.
Another anxiety disorder is panic disorder, which is characterized by panic attacks. Now, what panic attacks are where the individual becomes very panicky, feels short of breath, they may feel like they're going crazy or they're going to die, heart beats very quickly, they may get sweaty, they may feel very hot or very cold, their thoughts will race. It's really just what it sounds like, a very kind of a panicky experience.
There's a number of different physical symptoms. A person doesn't have to experience all of those symptoms, but usually they'll experience a number of them. At the same time, after those symptoms happen, very often the person will start to generate thoughts about what is happening to them. And often those thoughts are, I'm dying, I'm having a heart attack, or something horrible is happening to me.